to drive Jazz to the airport because she's flying to England. And then I have a bunch of people coming over to my house tonight for an event. And so I'm trying to concentrate on this because this is what's most important at the moment, right?
At the very
And you,
moment, absolutely. I feel you.
yeah.
Same. Like, let's go.
And you got a new camera, so you're
I
excited.
did.
All right.
Thanks to
You
the
want to jump
hubby.
in?
Let's go.
Yeah. All right. Good morning and welcome to What's Good Sacramento. You're here with Mac the Mortgage Man and your local Sacramento realtor, Lisa. Lisa, how are you doing today?
Hi, good morning, Matt. Good morning, everybody. I'm doing 100%, well, 99% better than I was from the Thanksgiving vacation. As I told you, I caught a cold, not COVID, but a nasty cold. So I'm feeling much better. But you know what leads me into, I kind of started stressing out because I thought about what's hot, what's going on this month right here in Sacramento. Well, worldwide, let's start with the date, December 1st. Can you believe it, Mac?
Wow. Yeah, I know. We were talking about it this morning and I was like, Jesus, we're already in December. What happened? So, all right, I guess we're just gonna figure out how to end this year strong, right?
24 days until Christmas. We need to make some serious money. Like, I don't know about you,
Yeah,
but I have
does
not
anybody
even
have want
finished.
us to sell their houses? I mean, we can
Let's
sell
go.
about 40 houses in this month. I think we're gonna be all right.
But you know what's crazy is people think that because we're in the holidays, like we just completed Thanksgiving, we're rolling into Christmas season, they think everything goes to a lull and people stop shopping. Not true
Mm,
at all whatsoever. It's very active out there. People are shopping. Opportune time for those of you who are looking or want to sell for sure. But you know,
mm-hmm.
just thinking about that, 24 days until Christmas, got to get the ball rolling with shopping, get everything aligned, right? But you know
Yeah, well,
what?
we're doing like a pretty low key Christmas this year because my wife is going back to England. So we're both gonna be here, and then I'm having surgeries done. So for us, no shopping hassle. Thank the Lord for that. Because yeah,
Well,
that's a pain.
for us, we were joking. We're like, should we divvy up the gifts and just be like, hey, the little kids get gifts this year, the big kids get gifts next year? Just kidding.
Mm,
Just kidding. But you know what? Just to kind of full circle back on like things to do, what's hot, what's happening here in Sacramento. I know I mentioned it in a previous episode, but they've got the Trans Siberian Orchestra. I've never gone to it, but
mm,
that actually highlights the ghost of Christmas is the theme for that.
mm.
And that's happening here actually today, this evening at Golden One Center. So if you haven't bought tickets or you're looking for something to do, that might be a lot of fun. The other thing, if you're basketball fans, we got the Kings versus Denver Nuggets. So that's happening, and that's tomorrow night at Golden One Center. I don't think you watch very much basketball, do you?
I used to. I grew up watching basketball. I was a Lakers fan. But honestly, when Kobe died, that was pretty rough for me. I grew up as a huge Kobe fan, and then um, people are not going to like me for this one, but I'm sort of on the fence about LeBron. So yeah, no, I don't watch a lot of basketball anymore.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, Kobe was a good player for real, but Lakers, come on. Warriors, baby.
Good
Although
player?
he
You
got
mean one of the
murdered,
greatest
people don't even
players
want to talk
ever?
about it.
All right. Mm.
But you know, aside from that, we also have there's a comedian. He's really becoming very popular very quickly. I don't know if you've heard about him, Matt Rife. I think is how he says his name.
Yeah, yeah, he's funny guy. He's been showing up on a lot of the podcasts and shows that I watch, as well as I just went and saw a comedy show at the Memorial, and so that one looks. I mean, man, I can't make that one. I didn't realize he was going to be there that soon, but it would be really cool to watch him because it looks like he's a pretty funny guy.
Okay, so like he's super funny and everything, and I'm like highly impressed at how quickly he's coming up. But them tickets are crazy pricing. I was like, whoa,
Mm. What were
like
they?
They're in the hundreds. They're not cheap. So yeah, he's coming up real quick. So
Mm.
I don't know. It's a little steep, but it's
Well, he's
definitely
been doing
something to
comedy
enjoy.
for like almost a decade.
But he's become more popular. At least I've seen him pop up a
Right,
lot
but I
more
wouldn't
in
say it's
recent
like a
years.
quick come up. It's like yeah, I mean,
Fortunately.
that's a long time to be doing comedy. But yeah, no, I think it would be a really cool show to be able to go to. So if you got a couple extra $100 to burn, check it out.
Right before Christmas.
Yeah.
So Mac, tell us what's going on current in today's market.
Ooh boy, things are going on. Well, we're a little bit of what we talked about last week, right? There's still issues going on with the NRA, still the lawsuit going on, and we've talked about this, you and I. Man, we really just need to like sit down, grab some drinks, some YooHoo for me, some. I'm not sure what your drink is, but let's go with gin and tonic because that's what I used to like, and just talk about this because it is crazy. Everybody's talking about it. People are worried that are in this industry, and I mean it's already a worrying time, right? So a lot of stuff going on that front. um, but on top of that, we had an opportunity, as we do, to go through TikTok, find some videos that we think are interesting that can bring you guys some value. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, we're going to bring up one of those videos, we're going to take a listen, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit. You ready for that?
Yeah, let's go.
Do you invest in stocks or real estate? What is your like major investments?
Real estate. It's the best investment for anybody out there. It's a slow way to get very, very rich.
Okay.
Your money gets locked up, property appreciates, the rents come in. You can get very rich investing in real estate, and it's not difficult. It's not a difficult game.
All the similarities between these wealthy people I walk up to, every one of them does real estate. Would you recommend for like the average like 20-year-old watching or something like that, like buy a multifamily, buy a single
I was
family?
just going to say that buy the cheapest multifamily you could get in an area that has good rentals.
Okay.
And then live in one half of it, and a tenant will pay your expenses. And then move out, rent the other half, do the same thing again and again and again.
All right. I mean, sounds like a good strategy to me. There's obviously it's not always that easy to get into investment properties, but if you're in a position where you want to leverage it, and we do have this conversation with our clients, right? We tell them, or we ask them really, what are your plans for the future, right? Are you looking to build generational wealth? Is this just a home that you guys want to buy, that you want to live in, and you guys want to create some security in your life? And depending on that direction, we are able to make up a plan for them, right? And one of the key ones is, well, are you looking for an investment property and things like that? And man, I wish I would. I mean, we bought our house. We love our house. We think we bought in a good area. But originally, we were looking for a duplex that was right on the edge of Midtown. And
Nice.
that, man, that would have been such a great thing. And it just timing didn't work out, unfortunately. But yeah, it's a pretty crazy. What do you think about the strategy?
So, the first thing that I like about it is, first of all, she's a very like commendable individual. Like if you think about her background, I was
Mm,
looking at, we know her most dominantly for Shark Tank. Everybody knows her. She's
hmm
like world renowned, famous, multimillionaire. And her story kind of backs up to like she's seen an opportunity. She borrowed some money. She opened up shop in New York, started a real estate career, or I can't say start, but just kind of excelled in it and really built herself up through real estate investing. So, I thought this was interesting because it's like three, best advice from multimillionaire individuals. And I thought, okay,
hmm
so real estate is one of the three. And then she kind of gives the footprints of one of the ways you can go about doing this. And so, really, a lot of people aren't even familiar with how you can position yourself to get into a multifamily, you know,
hmm
like property or how to qualify. I mean, a lot of people think it's out of their means, but if we're looking as investors or you're going in as a new couple, just as you and Jazz were at one point, and you have the
hmm
means to be able to say, hey, I'm going to buckle down for like a couple years, a year or two. I'm going to get into this property, live there. And as she pointed out, allow the renters, good renters at that, right? So you got to think about
Mm,
that part, pay for the expenses, cover the mortgage, be able to take that and then, extend what I make equity wise, build it and
mm,
continue to do that, branch out. And that is truly one way you can become very wealthy. Obviously, you have to watch the market and the market goes up and down. But as we both agreed, and many people do, real estate is very consistent, even with the rise and
mm,
fall. With the market, you still know that over time it has proven by far to be a stable way of making money. Let's be honest, right?
mhm.
So that's my take on it. I thought it
Yeah.
was a great.
Yeah, it's a little tricky, right? And you have to be willing to make a little bit of like if you can afford a house, right? And the size of a house, and then you're choosing to live in a duplex or a fourplex or whatever, then yeah, you're making a bit of a sacrifice there, but you're planning for your long-term future. And the nice thing about this, using a duplex as an example, is if you are going to use the duplex, in some instances you can actually use what the rent is going to be to help you
Mhm,
qualify for the purchase, as well as when you decide to move out of that property and rent the entire thing out, then you can use that to offset the cost of the mortgage for that property so it doesn't mess up your debt to income. And if you're able to get into a property where you're actually cash flowing, then now you have extra income to add to another purchase, right? As well as the fact that if you have equity in that property, you can leverage it by pulling equity out of it and putting it into another property. So there's a lot of strategies that you can do here, that we can help navigate you through. But yeah, I mean, like you're saying, there's a lot of ways to make money in this world. But for us, real estate really, I mean, granted, we're in real estate, so it's a little bit easier for us to justify that direction. But California and real estate in this area is stable for the most part,
mhm.
right? And likely it will continue to grow up. I actually saw an interesting thing yesterday where somebody, one of the real estate guys that I followed, maybe it was Grant Cardone, was like, there's only 10 real places in the United States that people live, right? And yeah, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but the general idea is that, like, look at California, right? San
Uh-huh.
Francisco, LA, and that's pretty much it. Those are the areas. And then
Wow.
those are like the bullet points, and then everything else expands out. And yeah, there's more expensive real estate in the area, but
Yeah.
notable real estate,
Mm,
you have to sort of think of it that way, right?
mm,
If you say Texas, right, I'm only going to be able to say a few places in Texas because those are really notable places. And because of that, real estate emanates out in that areas. And so we're lucky because we are very close to San Francisco. And
mhm,
we happen to be by another key point, which is the San Jose area, the tech boom area, right?
mhm.
And we're in the capital. We are very, very lucky to be in the area that we're in, right?
Well, it's funny you bring up a fine point about 10 places that people live because the
Mm,
other article that we're going to talk about, and I don't want to say too much, a couple of those cities were pointed out. So you're going somewhere with that. And
mm,
so that's what I'm saying is with real estate overall, there's consistency. Whether the
mhm,
market rise, falls, drops, what have you, if you strategize and you have a plan in place and you're patient, there's proven that there could be
mhm,
great potential for gaining equity and being able to do more with that. And
mhm,
so I think it boils down to, as mentioned, in particular, today we're talking about multi-family dwellings. It's not for
mhm,
everybody, could be for those, individuals who are really set on this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to invest and build my generational wealth. This could be solely for investors out there who have, the reserves to be able to look for a good
mm,
opportunity and swoop up these properties. But if you think about it, even in like the midtown area pocket, like those are great areas that have, at least even duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, and people are still flooding to our city trying to find
mhm,
homes, right? So
right,
I think that is just something good food for thought and something for people to
mhm,
consider, right? But what makes you
absolutely.
not take the leap? Sometimes it's, well, I don't want to sacrifice or I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like I want my big house.
Or it's expensive, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it is like, I think Granted, at that time it was really good, but for the duplex we were looking at, it was nearly 700,000. So really 350 a side. So it was like buying two houses, right?
Yeah,
And
it's
with
true.
the hope that one side is gonna rent. So that can be a bit scary, and you really want to make sure you're working with trusted professionals that can help you navigate that sort of fear, maybe.
Absolutely. You're right.
Hmm.
But with that, like going into the article that,
Hmm.
I pulled up and I wanted to talk a little bit about CNBC brought this article out just like a week ago about home prices keep rising, even though
Hmm.
interest rates like surge and they kind of come down a little bit, and that's your department, right? But what is going on with the housing prices? Let's talk about it.
I'm gonna try to simplify this as much as I can because it's a complex, case. It's not like you can just understand, the world's economy, the U.S. economy, the way that mortgages work in relations to the federal law, or not federal law, to the feds and all of that stuff. But there's a couple things that we're really interested in this article, and you brought it up. I think it's called "Home Prices Keep Rising as Mortgage Interest Rates Surge," right?
Hmm.
And there's some stuff on here. Home prices 3.9% higher in September compared to the same month as a year early, according to the S&P Horologication Index. So what we're really seeing is everybody's a little confused because they think prices are going to drop, prices are going to drop, prices are going to drop. That's not the case. Just because interest rates are super high doesn't mean the price are going to drop, right? This is sort of basic, demand. If you think of it in that sort of respect, I think it's a much easier to understand what's going on in the real estate market. The interest rate is high. So people think, well, property prices are going to drop to compensate for that. And yes, eventually they will. Maybe not substantially, but eventually they will. And there's a point where that does start to happen because there's not as much demand for a property, right? But then we've sort of gone past that threshold where there's not enough people trying to buy properties and there's not enough people putting properties on the market. And so what does that do? That creates
That's the point.
scarcity.
Yeah.
It creates scarcity, and there's not enough properties. And it's the same thing on the other end, right? When we were dealing with COVID, there was so many people in the market that it was really difficult to get into house. And so now it's really competitive. And on the other end, it's really scarce. There's much less to find, less what people are happy with. And you get the same effect on both sides. Either property values staying stagnant or property values going up, right?
Right. And I want to
Mhm.
like just kind of full circle back on that. Right now, actively in the market, when you're out there looking, there really isn't that much. The surge, it's like few and far in between. And so you have to consider that. It's not in comparison to even a year and a half ago where people were just like outbidding like crazy, but the
Mhm.
pricing is still remaining stable. And the
Right.
expectation and the outcomes are sellers are still getting what they want. They
Mhm.
may be more willing to give concessions to some degree, but they're
Right.
going into it with the expectation, listed price, if not a little more. And guess what? There are still buyers putting in multiple offers. So it's very
Mhm.
active. The inventory is less. So that does also have a lot to do with pricing, right? But
Mhm.
yeah, you're right. The interest
Right.
rates, they've gone up. People are still actively looking and they're willing to pay. It's just getting more in alignment with what your means are and what you can afford.
Yeah. Well, and contextually, right? Like as realtors, we say, well, there's a lot less, there's not a lot on the market. But keep in mind that in our world, that means there's still tens of thousands of homes on the market. I mean, there's still a lot of homes out there, but it's not nearly as robust as it was, right? When we had every other person listing their property. I know in my community alone, in the last 3 years, there has to have been at least 30 switchovers, right? That new people have come into the community and people who were sitting on their houses who maybe grew up in them or paid their mortgages off or whatever, they sold
Hmm.
those properties off. So there's still a lot out there, still stuff we can get you into that makes sense, but it's a lot more scarce. So it makes sense. And the interesting thing on here, so this says there's 20 metropolitan areas that saw biggest increase. So Detroit being one of them, 6.7%. San Diego is the next at 6.5%. New York at 6.3%. And then Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Portland, Oregon have reported lower prices compared to last year. And this makes a lot of sense, right? And we talk about Sacramento because that's where we're based, and it blows people like, oh my god, like everything is falling so quickly in Sacramento, and it's comparatively, right? Because
Mhm.
we were coming out in every magazine as the place to live. We were in the top, if like a lot of them were coming out as number one place to move. And then like, the most increased market, like Sacramento blew up in the last couple years. And when you are one of the highest markets, you're likely going to have a large fall as well, right? So it's not like Sacramento just lost all this value. It hasn't. I would say that in most places, it stayed pretty consistent, maybe even gone up a little bit. But it feels, when you look at the numbers, you're like, oh, wow, Sacramento's really dropped, things like that. That can be a little misleading because, you have all this media saying like Sacramento, Sacramento, Sacramento. It's sort of leveled back out to where it was before all the hype, right?
So, not necessarily. Housing prices are
Oh,
still higher. And if you think about, I always kind of think back even 5 years ago, what I could buy for $400,000 or $500,000, and what
oh,
four
I
hundred
didn't mean the
thousand dollars of
prices have leveled out. I
yeah.
just mean that the hype is leveled out.
Oh yeah. Well, somewhat
Yeah.
though. Somewhat. That's
Yeah.
true. But there are a lot of new builds still that are coming
Mhm.
up. But what I have noticed is that they are available. So
Mhm.
that's just food for thought for those of you who are looking. There are a lot of
Yeah.
new builds that aren't waitlisted or, waiting on the next community to come out. They're actively putting them and rolling them out, but there isn't like how it was a couple of years ago where it's like, oh my gosh, they're already out of inventory and have to wait until the next phase type deal. So that's
Mhm.
kind of on the upside, right?
Yep.
When it comes to
So some
houses.
interesting stuff going on in the market right now. If this is stuff that you're interested in, stay tuned. We'll continue to update you guys, especially on what's going on with the NRA, um, especially what's going on with the market. Eventually we will see a shift in rates, and you're going to want to be prepared for that. But why don't we go back to our favorite local Sacramento realtor, Lisa, to give us the community breakdown for this week. We are talking about Citrus Heights. Lisa?
Citrus Heights, guys. So if you're unfamiliar with this little niche of a neighborhood that kind of neighbors Fair Oaks, North Highlands, and Roseville, and a couple other places on the outskirts, it is an area that's still very affordable. The community has a population of about 87,000, give or take, income range, which I thought was kind of interesting. I feel like it's a little bit low, but around, let's just say 68,500. I don't know, give or take. But when I went on Niche, looked at its ratings, it's rated 323 out of 822 best neighborhoods to live in, to retire.
Mm,
So there you go. As far as like communities, neighboring, I think when I think of communities, granted I have children, but I think about like what are the schools like, what's going on around the area that would be attractive to me as a potential homeowner or someone moving
mhm,
to this particular community. So there actually is this one charter school, and I didn't really know much about charter schools before we started this show, and I really started to delve a little deeper into them and what they have to offer. But Visions and Education goes from grades K to 12, and they're rated like one of the number one best charter schools. As far as like rankings, elementary, there's 67 out of 667 in California. So that tells you
mhm,
something, right? As far as
yeah,
rankings for middle school, 65 out of 635 schools in California. I mean, these are really high ratings considering. And
mhm,
then for high school, rated 99 out of 495 high schools in California. So, I mean, if you're looking for an area with stability and you have children, you're thinking about communities, this is definitely something where if I was considering schools, I'd probably want to inquire about how to go about applying to get my child into a school like this versus,
mhm,
traditional schools in the area, just because their rankings are so high. Now, what else is
mhm,
going on locally in this little neighborhood? Um, Stone's Gambling Hall. Have you ever heard of that?
I don't really gamble. I'll
I don't
play
either.
poker is really the only thing I'll play because I feel like I have a lot of patience. And I find that if you have patience in poker for the most part, you can do okay.
Um,
But outside of that, I mean, I just don't want to throw away money. I'd rather throw it into some real estate, to be honest. So,
So I didn't even know they had a gambling hall over there until I did some research and it was brought to my attention. And I was like, oh, and then I looked it up and I was like, it's not bad looking. And considering it's Citrus Heights and they've got different things to offer, and that'd be more for the adult crowd. And if you're into things like
mhm,
that, they have a really pretty park, Tempo Park. They've got basketball courts, tennis courts, the little playgrounds for the children, but that seems to be something
mm,
very popular in the area. And then a restaurant that came up, because I'm a foodie and I like to know what's going on with the food, Crepes and Burgers. It's rated 4.5 stars on Yelp for reviews. So,
mm.
if you want to check them out, I have never eaten there. I don't know if you've heard of them, but that might be something to consider.
Yeah, there's a crepes and burgers near where I'm at, out here in Carmichael. So I don't know. I
Oh.
honestly, every time I see it, I go, there's those places that you drive by and you're like, how are you guys still open? Is this a front for something? Like, what is this
It's not
place?
very
And
nice.
that's one of those places because I'm like, I don't really ever see anybody there. Maybe I'm just missing it, but I have lived out in this area for a couple of years now. So,
Maybe but
but
everybody's
four and a
doing
half
DoorDash.
stars. Yeah,
I
4.5
know,
stars. I might have to check it out.
right?
Yeah.
So, Mac, introduce
Hmm.
us to something cool. What is something cool that's hot on the market right now that might strike some curiosity or interest?
Yeah. Super cool home. Really excited. You sent this over to me. It's probably like right in my price range, so I'm pretty excited about that. I'm pretty sure that I just put an offer today and get
We're
into this
both bidding
property.
on
But
this.
why don't we go ahead and we'll check it out real quick. Let me go ahead and share this over.
It's like a speakeasy house. I need one.
That house is wild. That is a nice house. First off, like as a marketing guy, the video is outstanding. So I always
I
appreciate that, and
know.
it should be for a nearly $2 million house. If you come out with this shit video, then that's a problem. But this house in general, Jesus, I mean, the f- I can't help but notice the phone booth in there, the English
I
phone
need
booth
that.
and how my wife would hate that that's in an American home. She's gonna be
Right.
like, why is that? That doesn't make any sense. So, but either way, it's a really nice property, right? I mean, Jesus Christ, it's nearly $2 million. It's got to be a nice property. I like the pool. I actually liked it. It looked like it was maybe the living room or sitting room at the top of the ceiling. It had
Right.
like black tiles or whatever. That was pretty sweet. I liked
But you
that a
know
lot.
what? It made me think of you guys, if you like luxurious listings and homes, check out Folsom. I can show you some of these beautiful homes. May not have that element of secret doors and hideaways that get lead to the other room, but guess what? You can build it.
Hmm. Yeah, Sacramento has its own fair amount of multi-million-dollar homes. There are, right? There's even some like really on the river, right? That's where you're going to find a lot of these really houses or coming with a lot of land. You're going to find that. And you can find that all the way from like, West Sac all the way up into Carmichael, all the way up into Folsom, all the way into El Dorado Hills. I mean, these houses kind of spread
Yes.
out through the entire area. So there's plenty to look at. And, yeah, we'd be happy to take you out. I'd be happy just to go look. Guys, thank you for tuning in today. As always, if you need help, you need to figure out how to get into your property, you're looking for an investment property, reach out to myself, reach out to Lisa. Lisa, where's the best place to contact you?
You guys, you can DM me at listings_by_Lisa on IG. You can email me. We'll put our information at the end of this show. You could always text or call, which is on my Facebook, Instagram, and our website. So reach out.
And if you're trying to get a hold of me, I have just relaunched my new website, macthemortgageman.com. Check it out. My contact information is on there. Our service is on there. It's very robust. Thank you guys for tuning in today, and we will see you next week.